Welcome to the call, millionaires. Welcome to the call. My name is Alma Nancy, and it is such an honor to be the host of this call this evening. Thank you all so very much for calling in, and let me welcome all of you to the self-esteem development training called Obsessed with Success. Just in case this is your first time calling in, let me be the first person to inform you that we do have these calls each and every Wednesday, and they are always filled with strategies and tips on self-esteem development, entrepreneurship, as well as secrets of the super wealthy. Trust me, millionaires, you never, ever want to miss one of these calls because they can totally change your life the same way that they have mine. It's not just me either, millionaires. These calls have helped thousands of people throughout the United States of America. So it is with special excitement that I am so very pleased to introduce to the line Mr. Haziq Ali. Mr. Ali is one of the most selfless people that you would ever meet. He devotes all of his time to providing service and fights the war on poverty just so we all can win. It's because of this we affectionately call him the General. Mr. Ali is an author, a self-esteem development expert, my personal coach, mentor, and my friend. Now let me step out of the way and introduce to the line Mr. Haziq Ali. Are you on the line, sir?
Yes, I am, Ms. Nancy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Please take it away.
Okay, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And I want to welcome all the millionaires out there to episode number 142 of Obsessed with Success. I really hope you have something to write with. Like, it's my hope for you that you are paying attention with your whole presence of mind. There's this joke, right, where the guy, he was a good man. He got picked for some gifts because he had just passed away. First of all, they let him know that he was so good they were going to send him back to Earth. But before he went, he could choose either unlimited knowledge or he could choose unlimited money. So, you know what I mean? He chooses his, he went with the knowledge. He was a scholarly man. He was like a professor. He knew a bunch of languages, et cetera, so forth. So they send him back, and his friends were waiting on him because apparently the angels had let them know not to grieve because we're going to be sending him back. Don't worry, and here's the choices we're giving him. So when he comes back, they ask him, they say, oh, man, which one you picked? It was like unlimited knowledge. They're like, yeah, I knew it. Okay. And then they said, so what did you instantly know once you got the unlimited knowledge that you didn't know before? Like what's the most important thing? He was like, I should have took the money. Hey, so my point is that you better know what you came for. You know, you got to know why you're here. The whole purpose of being here is not just to have it. The whole purpose is to apply this knowledge so that you can change something in your life. Does that make sense? So we're going to go over today is the 12 laws of money. I want you to think about it. What would it feel like to be the richest man or woman in the world, right? What would it feel like? Ask yourself. You know, maybe you followed our sort of like homework for today's class and you sort of wrote out some things because who doesn't want to earn more money, right? Who doesn't say they want to have more money? Well, listen, if you did what we talked about earlier, then you started formulating in your mind that there's a purpose, that if there is a purpose for you having and earning money, it cuts something in within you, doesn't it? Then how many of you that when you were going through that exercise started feeling like, oh, man, when you wrote that list of what you would do if the finances were available, and if you haven't done it, then do that now while I'm explaining the rest of this. You know, remember to consider first what makes you happy now because your interests, values, and beliefs probably won't change much, right? We always say that money's just a magnifier, right? Now, the whole thing is that do you enjoy the outdoors? Do you enjoy a elegant dinner outside, right, on your patio? With your chef serving you? Do you enjoy chats with the neighbors, a good book? Would you prefer to be on some deserted sort of like have some solitude on your own private island, right? Or are you more somebody who prefers the simple things, just a good book or a good movie, a comfortable home? What kind of things did you write down? And as you write out your list, you know, kind of like get in your mind which ones are contingent upon finances and which ones are brought about directly by your state of mind. You always hear people say your attitude creates your altitude, right? But this could be reversed, like most things, like most of these words of wisdom, right? The higher we look up, the more positive our attitude. You could say attitude creates altitude because it's true, but isn't it also true? The higher we look up, the more positive we are, right? The higher our altitude, the better our attitude. Really interesting. Whatever we focus on can sort of start dictating our mood, can't it? Instead of complaining about, and we're going to get to this in a minute, but instead of complaining about the job you work at, man, you better talk to somebody who's out of a job, period. Right? Instead of turning your nose up at the leftovers, you better go to a homeless shelter. See, the riches are inside us, y'all. But how you unlock it is having a purpose. You got to know where to look for it. And how you unlock it, how you find it is with purpose. If you will just look around yourself and treasure what it is you love about each and every day of your life, you'll increase your net worth because it's appreciation. We talked about that a little bit last week, appreciation. How to appreciate means to raise in value. But it's not about the value in your checkbook, in your pockets. It's the value in your heart that makes you the richest man in the world. So start this account now by listing exactly what it is that makes you feel rich. What are these 7 to 10 things? I know at first we said 3, then I took it up to 7 to 10. Because there's an exercise that we're about to do. Because this is the bottom line. If you don't have a real good reason for earning this bunch more money you want, it's not going to happen. These exercises that we're about to give you, it activates the power of intention. That's important because that power of intention is like a magnet. More than 50% of the people that do this exercise that I'm about to give you, you're going to watch your income double in at least the next 5 years. I mean, that's the one I can guarantee. If you just follow this, it could happen much quicker than that. But since we believe in under-promise and over-deliver, I want you to take this really, really serious, what we're about to give you here. I want you to write down, or if you've already written down the 7 to 10 things, now I want you to write down beside each of those things a rating. 0 means meh. 10 is like, oh my God, I gotta have it. Right? Go ahead and take like 30 seconds and rank them all. Rank every one of them. Put a number by each one of your goals, your 7 to 10. Put a ranking beside them. Okay. Now, when you look at that list, I want you to circle everything that's a 9 or a 10. Circle everything that's a 9 or a 10, because this is the thing. And, here's a small caveat, actually. You can't put stuff like bills down there. You can't put stuff like bills down there. If you did that, you can go ahead and replace that one, right? This has nothing to do with paying bills. Not paying your mom's bills, okay. Best college for your kid, okay. Making your dream home happen, all right, now we're talking. Taking care of a relative who's getting older, okay, cool. But you've got to look for the things that you have a 9 or a 10 for, because this can't be something that you, how many times in your life have you needed some money? I'm talking about really, really need, I mean, you, like, this got to happen. It's got to happen. And then the money just happens. How many times, right? I mean, you got to understand the purpose of you having this money. It's probably the most important thing we're going to discuss out these 12 laws. Imagine if somebody told you that if you didn't earn $100,000 in the next 12 months, and they were going to round up your family and your family was going to get the firing squad. Would you earn that $100,000? Of course you would. Well, welcome to the side of the warriors. Now, things might not always happen in the time frame that you want it to happen, but isn't it true that the way is the path? The path is the way. You've got to get started. So that was the law of purpose. And the whole point of this law of purpose is that if you will follow this that we're about to say, it's going to change everything. This next part that you're about to write down, you're going to want to put it up on the wall. You're going to want to let it resonate with you. You're going to want to use your visualization. If you're an affirmation nation, then you're going to want to refer back to this when you're in that higher emotional state. But what I want you to do is write down exactly why these 9s and 10s are so important. Write down the why for each of the 9s and 10s. If it's only one, cool. If it's 3 of them, great. And then later today, I want you to share it with 3 different people. Hopefully they're people that are on this call so they kind of understand what you're talking about. But share it out loud. Articulate it. See, it's important that you know why it is that you want this money and why it is that this thing that you want to achieve is so important to you. Because you already put down why you want the money. But now you got to put down why this thing that you want with the money is so important. Why this action you want to take when you have the money is so important. You're writing down the why behind the why, if that makes any sense, right? The reason you're doing that is because what you'll find out is that any why will work. Man, if you're a 9 or 10, it's going to work. It'll take you there. But many of the most rich, not most, I'm just going to say many, are unhappy because they got rich out of a place of proving to other people they could do it. Proving to somebody to put them down. Proving to an ex. And then you'll find that coming from proving will never make you happy. Coming from anger and proving never makes you happy. You want to come from joy, purpose, gratitude. But we're not judging. We're just saying acknowledge. Write it down so you can just see where you are right now and then share it. Next, it's just a real quick recap of a law that we discussed last week for those that weren't on last week. The law of focus. Millionaires, what we focus on is all that exists for us at the time. And at the time is all that exists. The law of focus. It says that the most important thing you can understand, it's so funny, I don't know how many of you guys watch movies like I do, but it's this movie about literal Jedis called Star Wars. It's where we get the term Jedi, right? Like Jedi is one of my favorite metaphors for like us walking through this thing, this whole wizard thing, this whole idea of entrepreneurship. You're a Jedi, right? And Obi-Wan Kenobi's mentor says to him real famously, he was like, the most important thing that you can understand is that your focus determines your reality. Yes, Nairobi, Kenya exists, but not for us, unless you're calling in from Kenya. Yes, Mars exists, but not for us. What exists around us is exactly what you are seeing, breathing, smelling, listening to in the present moment. And the law of focus is so powerful because no thought lives in your head rent-free. No thought lives in your head rent-free. But here's the good news. Millionaires, positive and any negative emotions cannot occupy your mind at the same time. That's important because the thing about the subconscious mind is that it will not be influenced unless there's emotion attached to the thought. I'm talking about the subconscious. Now, the conscious mind, a lot of times we're robotic. We're being subliminally influenced all the time. But your subconscious mind, it begins to re-imprint your programming. It will not be influenced by any suggestions made to it that aren't mixed with feelings and emotions. That's why in the morning when we're doing our affirmations, we're so exuberant with it. Because at the end of the day, we're here to attach emotion to it. That's why your parents remember where they were with JFK. That's why some of us remember like what we were doing when the planes hit the towers. There was emotion attached. Well, you've got to use that power. You've got to attach positive emotions to this amount of money that you want. If you're talking about using universal laws of money, I mean, it's a relationship, right? It's energy. Some people, they walk around here and they say that, and we'll get into this in a little bit even more thoroughly, but while we're talking about focus, right, some people really do believe that, oh, money is bad, or I don't need no money to be happy. Well, what if you told your wife, what if ladies, you told your husband, I don't need you to be happy? How often could you think that and therefore have that show up in your countenance? Therefore, have that show up in your attitude, show up in the meals you cook, show up in the way that you love on your mate. How long could you do that before that relationship changed? Right? I think that's important to consider, because the whole idea about the way that you focus on your financial goal is going to inform how quickly you get there. That brings us to another one that we're just kind of recapping. That's the law of duality. There's only a right because there's a left. There's only a up because there's a down. There's only a hot because there's a cold. Therefore, when you're talking about a law of money, when you're talking about manifesting your goal, you've got to be able to translate things that happen to you in the fashion that is supportive. Because if you utilize your thoughts to find what's self-destructive, we talked about it this morning on Affirmation Nation. Perfectionism is a disease. It's a trick of the devil. Because when you call yourself a perfectionist, what you don't realize is you're really giving a positive name to a negative trait. In other words, you're constantly finding excuses. You're constantly finding something is wrong why you can't release this burden, why you can't act on this idea. You're hiding behind this curse called perfectionism. You've got to realize that no matter how long you take, there's still got to be good things about it and bad things about it. It's the law of duality. I hope I'm making sense to somebody. That is an important one. So what's the next law? The law of specific skill. This is a universal law of money, the law of specific skill. Basically, one of my favorite people that ever described this was Will Smith, when he talked about how the difference between a talent and a skill is that all you need to be the best in the world at a skill is enough focus and dedication and commitment to it to get better than everybody else. Are you some kind of armchair traveler, right? Are you somebody who thinks it all out in your head, but you're like, that's not me? But I want you to understand, your progress in life begins in your own mind, and it ends in the same place. It's never too late. I mean, like, it's literally never too late. But if you really want to make it happen, if you're really trying to put yourself in a space where you're going to achieve what it is you want to achieve, you've got to get to a place where you realize talent don't even matter. That talent is overrated, like one of my favorite books. The rich respect the power of formal education. They don't talk about it in association with building an empire. But if you look at a lot of these world-class people, they don't really have like a lot of the what you would consider regular formal education. A lot of I'm talking about the world class, the world's richest, the ones that we normally would say in that list that we're looking up to, that we're looking to sort of model, what you'll find is that a lot of them have amassed their wealth through the acquisition and the sale of specific knowledge, specific skill. Now, what formal education always teaches us to do is to sort of like, I don't know, they want you kind of like working in this robotic, linear world where you trade labor for money. But the rich rarely become wealthy that way. The ones that we consider great, they normally operate from this non-linear mindset that keeps them always in a space of creative thought. They look to master skills. When you're at this elevated level of thinking, there are no boundaries. There are no limits. And the sole focus is on solving what they consider unsolvable. It's a specific skill. And this non-linear kind of like skill of thought, 2 and 2 are no longer 4. Anything's impossible. 1 plus 1 is 11. See, we're about using our brain power in addition to our mastermind groups, our mentors, our coaches. We can hone in on a solution, and I mean the exact solution that all of your competitors quit on. One of the greatest secrets of the rich is in their ability to rely on common sense and street-smart approaches, their ability to rely on their ability to solve anything, their ability to shift into a mind space where they realize everything is figure-outable. You don't find the wealthy being interested in the means a lot of times. I think it was Bill Gates who said famously, man, after the first $1 million, it's pretty much all the same sandwich. Money is distasteful to discuss when you really have it. All you're thinking about is solve the problem, get compensated, and then repeat. End of story. If you can learn to have that sort of like obsession with specific skill, man, you have no choice but to win. Like you literally have to. That brings us to the next one, which would be the law of perspective. The law of perspective. See, my grandma, right? She believes that rich people are shallow. She believes that you know, almost like they're self-indulgent. They're all greedy, that they must have did somebody wrong, shallow, you know, decadence, obscenity. And that somehow, and I love her to death, but that somehow, and this isn't just, maybe you have a family member that believes that mediocrity financially is some kind of badge of honor. Oh, and now I'm not saying that it's like not honorable to work hard. But all that about it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the, right? The literal translation of this even made them kind of paint the picture of the Pope for years, like he was just impoverished. What a joke, right? But that they had to do that. They had to paint this picture. If you were to look back, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, more like 20 years ago, you'll find that they had to pretend he was some destitute servant to maintain the integrity of the message. And I'm saying integrity in air quotes. That way it motivated people to donate money. This is not opinion, millionaires, this is fact. This manipulative tradition continues in modern times when you see them selling salvation with prayer cloth, or you see them selling holy water to the poor, right? But this is the thing. It's only possible to manipulate people like that because it feeds on your perspective that being poor is a virtue. It feeds on your perspective that even if you can't pay your rent, you should give your money to God. And that guy is God. That this box right here represents God. That giving it to this particular thing represents, right? The rich see themselves. Now, this is perspective we're talking about. This is the law of perspective as it relates to spiritual and metaphysical ways of attracting money. The wealthy have no interest in manipulation. They have no interest in unethical practices. I'm talking about the truly wealthy. Yes, the chief aim may be to get rich, but it's in an honest and above-board manner, which, of course, you know we mean by serving others. This is how they're able to focus on their goals and still move with lightning speed because of their perspective. So while the rest scorn the rich and pride themselves on being above it all, they're drowning in debt, right? No hope for the future, right? Meanwhile, because of perspective, the wealthy aren't repelling all that money. You get it? You get it? If you're saying over and over and over again how much you care less about it, why would the money stick around? If you ask most people about money, they'll understand why they don't have none. They see the ambitious as greedy. Why you always working? They see money as this necessary evil that's got to be managed, but never focused on. After all, there's way more righteous pursuits, right? Like television, right? Like the football game, right? The idea of building wealth is shallow according to their perspective. It's too much work, right? Meanwhile, the rich see money as a tool that has the power to create freedom and opportunity for themselves, their families. This famous philosopher, Ayn Rand, he called it an unrestricted existence, that the wealthy are able to live an unrestricted existence. Man, that's freedom. We talking about freedom. This means you got the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, no limit. You get to engage in your purpose or your pastime. Doesn't matter how lavish, don't matter how impractical it seems to the masses. You know the best time to visit an amusement park? On a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. No lie. You know, a lot of millionaires and billionaires, they do these charitable foundations. That's how they donate money, right? But here's something that you don't know. Next time your granny says something to you like all crazy, you got to remind her that it's the rich that keep these charities alive. Do you know that? The rich form these foundations, and then they donate to the charities. So while the middle class is out here demonizing and criticizing the world class for their selfishness and their greed, the latter mentioned is busy keeping these charities alive. They're busy keeping hope alive. They're busy donating the lion's share of the money that keeps these people in business. I'll tell you about perspective. I'll tell you about the law of perspective. It is so hilarious to me that sometimes we fix our thoughts to say that it's the rich who are selfish. It's the rich that are somehow greedy. It's the rich that are somehow messing up society. When you're poor, family, friends, strangers, and the government all got to get dependent on by you. You burdening family, you burdening friends, you burdening strangers, you burdening the government. That's who you got to depend on to eat food every day when you're poor. When you're wealthy, family, friends, strangers, and the government all depend on you. It's called the law of perspective. Who's really selfish? Who's really selfish when you actually think about it? That's really interesting, right? Well, that law of perspective brings us right into another one that is sort of like, I don't know, this is almost like the yin to the law of duality, yang. I guess you could say these are yin and yang, right? The law of flexibility. See, duality means pretty much it is what it is. And so you got to have a positive focus with how you're looking at it. Well, that's different from the law of flexibility. How many people have you heard say, I love change? I guarantee you never heard. I mean, it's not one of those things that people hate moving. They hate switching jobs or getting fired, right? But this is the thing you got to realize. Even though change makes people not just want to look the other way but run, part of their problem is that most people don't view it as a process. They think it's some kind of either or, right? Nobody wants to be pressured into making changes. Nobody feels like nobody likes feeling like they were thrust into something that they didn't understand and couldn't predict. A command says change or else, right? That doesn't make nobody want to switch. But if you begin to view it as a process, it can feel more palatable, right? And I'm going to give you 5 steps to changing. But think about it. Isn't change almost like the exact same 5 steps? when you're accepting grief, when somebody close to you dies. I don't know if you've ever had somebody really close to you die, but every single time you're going to go through these 5 steps that are the exact same 5 from when you're trying to change in any way. Definitely write these down. Because if you're going to make it, you're going to have to be flexible. You've got to be open to miracles. Andrew Carnegie, out of all the different principles that he loved, everybody knows that Andrew Carnegie's favorite principle, his favorite law, that you see detailed in Think and Grow Rich, was this whole law that you got to stay flexible, that you have to be open to miracles. Here are the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Let's say you're talking to your mentor, your coach, you're an entrepreneur, you've hired this person or you've brought this person into your life to help you kind of reach closer to your potential. We know that none of us ever fully manifest our potential. You decided you wanted to reach for it a little bit harder. So you call this mentor. You get this coach involved. This coach comes along and he tells you that you're just way too lazy, that your standards are way too low for what you consider to be work, and you need to stop. You need to get it together. What does your interior dialogue say? Right? Like what do you start saying in your mind? Like when your coach tells you that you're too lazy and that you need to get off your butt and get to work. Well, first is going to be denial. Well, I know they ain't talking to me. Me? Man, I'm in control. This is my life. These are my habits. I got it. That's called denial. Then what's the second one? Anger. Man, and how you talking to me like that anyway? Like, who do we think he is? Coach Smooch. I ain't say I was down for all of that feeling uncomfortable. Now it's like you talking to me like you're not even going to accept me being mediocre. Heck no. Anger, right? Then number 3 comes the bargaining. Maybe if I man, maybe I could just do like this with this right here. Would that count as me working hard? I mean, because think about it, that's more than I was doing. Right? Bargaining, where you still ain't committed. You're just trying to do something to make the ego be quiet. The ego doesn't like being offended by the coach, so now the bargaining thing comes out to see if we can just fix it with a half measure. Nobody great deals in half measures. That brings us to number 4 then, depression. I'm so depressed. I know he's right. You know what I mean? I don't like how much money I'm making. I don't like, how my results are. But I can't do it. I need help. Then comes step number 5, which is acceptance. I know I need to go harder. I know my coach can help me go harder. I'm going to take his advice. I'm going to begin. Acceptance. Now notice, this little internal conversation can happen over the course of a day, a week, a month. It could be even longer. That doesn't matter necessarily. What really matters is that no matter how strong your resistance is, when you've advanced to the depression stage of the change process, you're almost there. All you need to do is step up to acceptance. So if you're already in this place where you're feeling like super blown by the prospect, you're like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Then you know what you're about to do? You're about to accept it. And then once you accept it, now you can begin to change it. Once you acknowledge it, then the answer is going to start flowing to you. Now, if you're going through some kind of changes in your personal life, here's a little thing that I suggest. Pinpoint where you are by analyzing that dialogue we just went over, right? How do you talk to yourself? Note what stage of these 5 you're in. Get a feel for yourself. Congratulate yourself for knowing that change is a process. And know that you can track your progress while you go through the stages. Keep that in mind. You've got your little chart now. Now you can track it. And the use of knowledge is what power, not power, but the use of knowledge. That's what power is. And you've got the power. You've got the power. Millionaires, you've got the power to take any change that comes. Shanae Miller, I think that was her name, Shanae Miller. Was she open to miracles? Was she open to miracles? How many saw us? You know, because at first they were saying that if you don't know who that is, that's the lady who fell as she crossed the finish line and won the gold medal. Her story is actually pretty incredible. So if you haven't read it, you know, just Google her, Shanae Miller, Shanaue. Here's my point. Everybody thought she fell across the finish line. No, she dove. On some Timothy Ferriss 4-hour work week. I don't know how many of you have read that, how he got the gold medal in judo because he studied it and figured out there was some rule that he could easily take advantage of and knock everybody out the ring off balance within a certain amount of time, and then they'd be disqualified. And he did that all the way to the gold medal. You hear me? If you don't know about Timothy Ferriss' 4-hour work week, it's an amazing kind of story. It's an amazing book in general. But here's my point. You got to be open to miracles. See, duality is, it is what it is. That's the law of duality. It is what it is, so let's focus on this part. But here's the law of flexibility. It's the other side of that coin. Man, look, change is going to come. Change is going to come, regardless. So we might as well be on the forefront of it. What's law number 7? Write down the law of balance. The law of balance. Now, with this law right here, I'm going to give you like these 12 different sort of riches of life, according to Napoleon Hill. But are we clear that when it comes to balance, right, that time is our most valuable commodity, our most valuable resource? It is imperative we use time wisely, right? We all got 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours to earn a living, 8 hours for recreation, with some form of dedication. You know, it could be to our purpose, it could be to our parenting, right? But Napoleon Hill tells us that 8 personal hours, the ones where you're not working or sleeping, are the most significant ones because these are either going to make us or break us as we head towards our goal. Man, When you're talking about balance, listen, if you work during the day, our resources are depleted. Then it's like we got to replenish what we drained out ourselves. Doing more of it doesn't enhance our personal resources. All it does is diminish them further. What you got to do is change the pace. You got to find something new, different, and interesting. Something that captivates our imagination. Something that restores our what? Balance. Now, for each of us, it's going to be different. There's no doubt about that. Everybody feels a different calling inside. But what we know internally is what's going to renew our spirit. We know it might be a simple little walk. It could be a leisurely dinner. It could be an hour with a book. We talked about some of this. You know, a little wrestling session with your dog, right? Maybe you like going to the movie. But what happens when you stop working constantly or stop studying constantly is that you can spend some time in diversion and lets you relax and renew yourself so you don't burn out. I mean, ignore it if you want. I'm talking about disaster. You're going to start shutting down your imagination, your creativity, your intuition. Now you're blocking all of that stuff out with a distorted work ethic. Closing off portions of our identity creates lack instead of abundance. Therefore, we got to be mindful that we listen to our needs and react to them, ASAP. When your body's crying out for recreation, when your body's crying out for downtime, when your body's crying out for personal renewal, it's not a good time to postpone it. I was going through it. I have so much going on. There were so many stresses and pressures around me at all times that I just broke down and had to join the gym. Because if you don't get that stuff out of your system, if you don't go sweat out the impurities, if you don't go and run and breathe and just where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? But you got to remember about balance, man. See, there's no way. We've all heard the phrase like, there's a famous phrase among married couples was like, happy wife, happy life. Right? We all hear about how, when your energy and your attitude is better, then things happen quicker for you. That it's not like money makes you happy. It's that happy makes you money. We've heard this in all these different ways. Well, listen to me. Nothing matters. Listen. You've got to be happy first. You're not going to be able to accomplish anything until you're right within. You've got to be selfish on that small little level to make sure that you're ready to take care of other people. You can't get out there halfway and then, listen, mess around and kill both of y'all because you ain't got the strength for the swim. You never took time out to train and exercise. It's rough out there. Any self-help book you read tells you in order to manifest your dreams, you got to have objectives. And they got to be observable. They got to be measurable, right? They got to be emotional. What that means is we got to be able to see and count our actions taken and then document, write it down. And I know this might sound kind of crazy to some of y'all, but, man, these success journals are no joke. If you can write all your stuff out and then refer back to it, look at the thoughts you had at that moment in time. Now, how do we sort of realign when we're off balance? How do we make it so we can hit this small target in the center, right? Because we're looking for the bullseye. Anybody can just hit the board. We're trying to get the bullseye, and some people don't hit the board, but we're trying to hit the bullseye. If we remember that emotionalized targets get hit much quicker and more often, we can use our positive emotions to help motivate us to reach it. A definite major purpose, like we started this whole call saying, that is emotionalized, will quickly come to pass. But we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it'll create a vacuum. The stronger we feel about it, the sooner it's going to happen. So before we get out of here, I want to give you the 12 riches of life. The 12 riches of life. Now these are in the order that Napoleon Hill gave them to us, right? Some of these are definitely from Napoleon Hill, and I think this is one of the most powerful that I've given you all this evening, and we'll end with this and continue this next week. Hopefully you have something to write with. The 12 riches of life. These are the 12 sort of like, you might want to kind of like write out these that I'm about to give you and kind of give yourself a percentage in each category, right? Let the percentage that you give each one reflect how it is right now, today, and just make sure they add up to 100%. Then kind of reflect, kind of sit back and reflect which riches should be debited, which one should be credited to your balance. You're striving for a positive balance, and you'll be happier, you'll be more productive. But I want you to look at all 12 of these and be honest with yourself about where you are, what percentage you're on with each. Balance. We're talking about balance, equilibrium, the law of balance. If you want to be truly successful, since we know that it's the happy that brings the money, this is balance. Okay, number one, a positive mental attitude, right? Attitude, as in the direction, as in the focus. If I am facing east, I cannot see west. If I have on my miner's helmet and over there's a pile of gold and over here is a pile of coal or dirt or refuse or trash, I'm not looking at the trash. It's because I have a positive mental attitude, and we are in a gold mine. Number 2, sound physical health. I mean, we always talk about sound mind. What about sound body? What about your physical health? Man, if you need a little bit more energy, go work out. You'll see. Let me know how it goes. Work out. Number 3, harmony in your human relationships. You're giving yourself a percentage point on each of these. So this isn't a ranking. This is a percentage point. Number 4, freedom from fear. I told a guy yesterday, man, we was talking about some entrepreneurial idea he wanted me to help him with. But then we got to the point where it's like, all right, well, do you want to do this, this, and this? Man, he started like, oh, I got it. And I was like, man, don't have all this brain and no heart. You're not going to make it. Man, do you understand? Bill Gates risked it all with that $50,000 he borrowed to start Microsoft. Steve Jobs went and sold the program before he had built it. You got to have freedom from fear. Let's hurry up. Number 5, the hope of achievement. Hope, man. Hope. This is a resource for you. This is one of the things that make it happen for you, baby. This is one of the riches of life, the hope of achievement. Do you realize how dismal certain people are living? Because they don't even have, their hopes just don't go past what they might do Friday night. And don't you know that can be something to obsess on just as easily as you may be obsessing on your 5-year goal? Man, only thing that exists for that guy who's planning on the weekend, bless his heart. Only difference, it's his focus. He's having the same fun planning the weekend that you're having planning that 5-year goal. He's having the same fun manifesting the weekend as you are manifesting your dream. Only difference is he's thinking like a midget. But the hope of achievement is one of the riches of life. Number 6, the capacity for faith. Man, sometimes it breaks your heart. You're talking to one of your people, man, they only had the ability to have faith in something. Man, they only had the ability. You hear me? They don't even know what to do. Right? They don't know what to do. If you have the capacity for faith, my friend, you are enjoying one of the riches of life. What about the willingness to share your blessings? Number 7, the willingness to share your blessings. You've been given gifts, millionaires. You've been given gifts. This law of balance is so important because it forces you into doing, certain of the laws accidentally. You've been given gifts, but it ain't a gift till you give it. It ain't a gift while it's sitting in your closet, in your trunk, while it's sitting in your jacket pocket, while it's sitting in your purse. That ain't no gift. It's not a gift until you give it. One of the riches of life is the willingness to share one's blessings. Number 8, a labor of love. My God, sometimes just the journey alone is enough to make you happy, isn't it? Sometimes just the journey alone, am I right? You need a labor of love, something that you magnetize. Isn't it funny how it always comes back to certain of these same concepts? Really interesting. Number 9, an open mind on all subjects. There's that law of flexibility again, right? We're looking for balance. Balance. Number 9 was an open mind on all subjects. Number 10, self-discipline. Commitment. Self-discipline and commitment, they're almost synonyms, right? Except for self-discipline could go to a number of things, but commitment is a huge pillar of it. Because what does it mean? What does it mean? What does self-discipline mean? On one level, it's the same definition as commitment. It's doing the thing you said you would do even after the feeling that you said it in has passed. One of the riches of life is number 10, self-discipline. Number 11, the capacity to understand people. That's a blessing. It's a blessing if you decide to use your imagination for the highest vibration. Listen, nothing beats using imagination for this. It's the best way you can use it. The best way you can use your imagination is to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Empathy is the highest form of imagination. When you increase your capacity to understand people in a world where it is people that make you rich, not Fort Knox, off in Kentucky somewhere, not the Federal Reserve banks, not the local branches, right? Not what pays you is people. So once you have the capacity to understand people, but I want you to notice what's last. Now, this is from a guy that wrote Think and Grow Rich. I want you to notice what's his last rich of life, the last of the 12 riches of life. Listen to this. Financial security. Financial security. I'm sure Dr. Hill ain't want to just come out and say it, but you can probably determine your degree of satisfaction with your life right about now. How do your personal goals relate to Napoleon Hill's 12 riches of life? Because we're talking about balance. Now, as an experiment of sorts, I say let the percentage represent how each is today. Make sure they total 100% when you finish. And then kind of sit back and reflect. Which of these riches should be debited or credited to your account? I say if you strive for a perfect balance, if you strive for like a positive balance, you'll be a happier, more productive person. And even more than that, or maybe right along those same veins, of course, you're going to find yourself a lot more accomplished. Millionaires, that is going to do it for episode number 142. I know we went a couple minutes over. If there's any way that I can help you, reach out to me on Facebook, Haziq Ali and the number 1, or you can do Instagram, which is just at Haziq Ali. And if you have not joined Dear Millionaire yet, you can join right now by composing a text message. If you want to do it, I'll show you how. You compose a message. The message will say @MillMind. So the @ symbol and then MILLMIND. And then you're sending that to 81010. I guess at our height we have maybe, 150 tonight. That means maybe, 15 of you haven't joined yet. 15, maybe 20 of you. So that's how you do it. @MillMind. And then you text message that to 81010. Millionaires. That's going to do it for episode 142. For real this time. And did I already say how to reach me? At Haziq Ali on Instagram and Haziq Ali on Facebook. Either way, you can reach out. I'd be happy to help you. Oh, make sure you like the page. I'm going to post the replay for this call on We Are Millionaire Minded on Facebook. So you haven't already liked the page, you aren't getting the alerts from We Are Millionaire Minded on Facebook. Just search it on We _R Millionaire Mind, and then it'll come up. You'll see our logo with the put your money where your mouth is, and like the page because that's how we're sending out the replay. Okay, I'll see everybody. Remember, your mind has to expand to match your goals, or your goals will shrink to match your mind. I love you all, and I'll see you on Affirmation Nation in the morning. Good night.